Hi there, today I'm going to be showing you how you can achieve two-way SMS in Marketo by using the Telnyx telecommunications API and the Zapier automation tool. So I'm sure you've seen when you've received certain texts from companies, they'll always have reply stop to unsubscribe, reply help for help. So being able to achieve this when you're sending your own notifications from Marketo is important to stay within SMS compliance. So if someone sends you the stop keyword, you want to be able to respond saying you've been unsubscribed from text messages, and you want to unsubscribe these people within Marketo so they'll no longer receive SMS notifications. I'll show you how to do all of that within this video here, and I'll also show you how flexible this can be. So if you want to respond to other keywords, like if someone texts you holiday, you could reply with a custom message saying you've been entered into the holiday competition, and so on. So this is very flexible, the structure I'm about to show you here, so you can take it and make it your own to supplement and augment your own outbound notifications from Marketo with the response logic you can build with Zapier and Telnyx. So the first step with two-way SMS is, of course, sending your outbound SMS notifications from Marketo. So in this first blog post here, I show you how you can get set up in the Telnyx portal, purchase your first phone number, and then start sending SMS notifications from that phone number using webhooks from Marketo. And I've got a YouTube video here that shows you how to get set up in the Telnyx portal and how to set up that webhook to send the SMS message from Marketo. So check this out before continuing with this post, because you first need to be able to send outbound SMS as the first part of having a two-way SMS responder. And then the second part of this is responding to inbound SMS messages that you get to the phone numbers that you're using to send SMS from Marketo. So as a refresher, within your Telnyx profile, you'll have phone numbers associated with a messaging profile. And then within Zapier, I'll show you what this looks like quickly. You can create a trigger for an inbound SMS message to this messaging profile. So if anyone messages any of these three numbers, that will be sent to the Marketo SMS notifications messaging profile and trigger this Zap to run. So the way you'll set up this trigger, we're going to search for Telnyx here. You want the receive a message event. Go continue. We're going to choose an account. I'm not going to choose one of my existing accounts. I'm going to create a new account to show you what that looks like. And then you're going to copy in your API v2 key here. So we'll go to our account settings. We'll go to keys and credentials. I'm going to create a new API key for this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to bring back up that pop-up window, which you can hopefully see. You're going to paste in your API key. And going back to Zapier, go next. Just name it. I'm going to call it Marketo SMS notifications so that the name is the same as I have in my portal here. So we can see the messaging profile here, Marketo SMS notifications. I'm just going to name it the same in Zapier. You can leave the webhook failover URL empty, or you can specify a destination where you want webhooks related to the messaging profile to be sent to if the primary URL fails. But for this, I'm going to leave it empty. Go continue, test trigger. And then we can see it's pulling in information from our messaging profile. So it looks like everything's working correctly here. Hit continue. And now I'm going to jump back to the blog post for a second, just to show you that Telnyx automatically has auto responses for certain keywords. So you can see all of those auto responses here. So we have auto responses for cancel, end, stop all, quit, unsubscribe, and then start and unstop. So you don't need to send any response to a person when they send one of those keywords, because Telnyx will automatically send a response for you. So if someone texts stop, for example, the Telnyx auto response is you have successfully been unsubscribed, yada yada. Or if someone wants to resubscribe and they text start, it'll say you have successfully been resubscribed to this number. So we don't have to account for these in our code. So looking at this example here, the first step after we set up our messaging profile trigger is to parse the inbound text message to look for what keywords were present. So since we don't need to send a message for stop or start keywords, all we do here is we specify the keyword we've found in the text message. So we set keyword to stop or start. For other cases, if someone texts help, then we want the message we're going to send in response to be this is Telnyx marketing, and we set the keyword to be help. Else, if we don't identify any keywords that we know in the message, we're just going to send a default response. And in this case, it's thanks for reaching out. If you require assistance, please visit https://support.telnyx.com. So this is a very flexible framework where you can include any keywords that you want. So here you could say if holiday present in text message body, then send them the message you've been entered into the holiday competition. And you'll notice here that I'm lowering the text message body. It just makes it easier to do keyword comparisons where I'll just use lowercase here and then search for it in the lowercase text body. So I just thought I'd point that out to you guys. So now at the end of this step, we've got the outbound message we want to send back to the person. We've got the keyword we've identified, which we'll use later on in filters in step 6 here, because if it's stop or start, we want to unsubscribe the person from SMS notifications in Marketo. So that's why it's important to know what keyword we identified. And if you'll see by default, we have someone's SMS subscription set to true. But if the keyword turns to stop, then we're going to turn that subscription to false. And then we've also got the output of the subscription here, which we'll set in step 9 if we end up going through the filter in step 6. So then in step number 3, we're going to use some Python code to send an SMS message using the Telnyx API. So a little bit later on, I actually use Telnyx's inbuilt Zapier action to send an SMS message. And in this case, I'm only sending the SMS message to my own phone number to alert me that there was an inbound message to my messaging profile, and it'll tell me information about what number it came from, what number it was sent to, and the response from step number 3 here. But the important thing to note is I use this simple Telnyx send SMS action when no logic was required. However, in step number 3, since I wanted to use some logic, it was easier for me to use Python. So let's take a look here. If stop is not in the keyword and start is not in the keyword, then I want to send this SMS message. Else, if stop or start are present, then I just want to return skipped send. Because as I mentioned before, if someone replies with one of these keywords, Telnyx handles the response for you. It'll send one of these 2 responses, so we don't need to. So that's why in step 3 here, I use the Telnyx. That's why I used Python code and the Telnyx SMS API to send the text message, because I wanted to build this logic into this flow step. And if you want to check out the Telnyx documentation for how to make these API requests, you can check out this blog post here and this sending a message section in particular, where you can access the code in Python, Ruby, Node, etc., which will allow you to send this SMS message. So in step number 3, we send the outbound response back to the person. Step number 4 is a simple email alert, which I send to my own email address to let me know that there was a new inbound SMS received to the messaging profile. And I include the message that was sent, the phone number that sent the message to the messaging profile, and then the to phone number is the phone number that the real human person texted to. And then I put the response of step number 3 here as well. So if we sent them a message, I can see whether the response message we sent them was successful, or if we decided to skip sending because the keyword was stop or start, I'll see that here in the response to. And then, as I showed you before, I can do the exact same using the send SMS action from Telnyx. And this is very simple here because I don't need any logic. So I can just send, I know I want to send this text every single time, so I don't need any logic or Python code. And here, this is just a number you can choose. So you'll see that all 3 of the numbers in my Telnyx profile will appear here. So I've currently got 3 numbers, and all 3 of them appear here for me to select. So I can choose one of these to send the notification to myself. Then this is just my phone number. And then same as before, I receive all the information about the incoming SMS to the messaging profile, as well as the response that came from step number 3. So if I did send them a message, I'll see if the message was delivered and sent, or I'll see that we decided to skip sending in 3 because the keyword was stop or start. And I also include a link here to the Zap history to make it easy to debug to see if things went smoothly or if there's some cleanup needed because things went wrong. So now we get to the filter in step number 6 here and setting a person's subscription. So going back to the blog post for a second, as I mentioned before, if someone texts stop or start, Telnyx handles the auto response for you. However, in Marketo, we still need to either subscribe or unsubscribe this person, because if someone sends stop to Telnyx, then Telnyx won't send them any SMS messages. So there's no point in you continuing to send SMS messages to this person from Marketo because they'll never be delivered. So that's just a waste of computation resources. So we want to avoid that. And similarly, if someone texts start to Telnyx, you need to know in Marketo that you can start sending webhooks to send SMS to this person again. So this is what the next 4 steps of the Zap do. So in step number 6, we do a quick check to see if the keyword contains stop or start, then we want to continue. We're going to get the Marketo access token using Python code. So we specify our client ID, our client secret, and then we have this code to get the access token. And you can copy this code from the blog post here, and you can read a bit more about getting authentication in Marketo by following this link. And then the next part of it is we need to look up the person's email address using their phone number, because in step number 9 here, we use their email address as their unique identifier. So this is being very slow to load. So in this step, wow. In this step where we're updating the action, maybe I'll go here, might be a bit quicker. Yeah, we have to specify the person's email address. That's what we use as the unique identifier in this step, and then we'll update their subscription. However, all we know about the person at this point is their phone number. So we need to associate their phone number with the email address so we can set their subscription. And to do that, we're going to use the query leads API request from Marketo. And in this request, it lets us query our database based on a certain field. So in this case, it's going to be the phone number field and then we can specify the values for this field that we want to look up. So in this case, it's going to be the person's phone number. And then this code here finds all the people who have that phone number in Marketo. And then by default, we're just going to return the first email address that we find. So let's see what this looks like in Zapier. So we get the access token from step number 7. This is the lookup value. It's the person's phone number that came into the messaging profile at the very start of this app. The field API name in this case is form phone. And then this is just a URL for my Marketo instance. And then same as before, we specify we want to look up the form phone field value. And then the values we want to look up for this field within the database is just going to be this one phone number. And it's important to note you need to URL encode the phone number in order for this request to work correctly. So that's what this yourlib.parse.quote function is doing. URL lib. Sorry, that's very hard to pronounce. And then we return the first email address that we find that has this matching phone number. And then the final part in step 9. If this is slow to load, I'll jump to the other Zap. The final part in step 9 is we're just going to use the creator update lead event in Marketo, and we're going to specify the email address of the person that we found from step number 8, and we're going to set their subscription. And remember, we determine what the person's subscription value should be using step number 2 here, because if the keyword is stop, we set their subscription to false, else their subscription remains true. So that's the value we're pulling in here. And it's the email address from step number 8 here. So we can see that the output of this will contain the person's email address of the phone. The output of this step will contain the email address associated with the phone number that we looked up. One thing to note here is that it's not possible to use this query request when the field type is phone. So by default, this form marketing phone is a phone number field, and you can't use this to query leads. So you wouldn't be able to use it in this request. It needs to be a string type. So you'll see I created another field here called form marketing phone lookup, because this is a string value that I can use in that query request. And then I've got a smart campaign, which is very simple. Anytime the form marketing phone value changes, take whatever the value is, and we pull that in using a lead token and assign it to the form marketing phone lookup. So now I have the person's phone number in this string value field, and now I'm able to use it in this query request to look up the person's email address. And one thing I recommend doing is keeping the phone number you use for marketing notifications within Marketo separate from the phone number that salespeople use, because you'll have different opt-in and compliance processes for each. So I recommend having a form marketing phone like I do here, which only Marketo has access to, so you can use it to send SMS notifications. And then this is different from the phone number that your sales team uses. So it's good to keep them separate for compliance. And that's it. So in this app, I showed you how you can, first of all, send outbound SMS messages, and you'll go to a previous blog post to learn how to do that. Respond to inbound SMS messages by using Python code to determine what keyword was present, and if we should send a response, and if so, what the response should be in step number 3. And we use Python code and the Telnyx SMS API to send that response. And then we send some email alerts and SMS alerts to let your team know that there was an inbound response to let your team know that there was an inbound SMS message to one of your messaging profiles, and then you can check the Zap history to make sure that everything ran smoothly. And then the final part of this is if someone message stop or start to your messaging profile, you want to be able to handle their subscription correctly and update it in Marketo if needed. So I hope this blog post was useful. And now that you're set up with two-way SMS in Marketo, you should take a look at the Marketo SMS integration webinar reminders post and see how you can build outbound SMS into your webinar programs to remind people to attend. So an hour before the webinar, send people an SMS. So you can see how to set up your smart campaigns and webhooks in Marketo to achieve this. And then based off this post and this video that you just watched, if anyone responds, you can reply appropriately based on the keyword that was in the message. And as I mentioned, this is very flexible. You can change the Python code that's present in step number 2 here to search for any keywords you want and set the response to be anything you want. So that makes this whole thing very flexible, and you can take it and do whatever you want. So I hope this was useful, and if you have any questions, please comment here on the YouTube video, or you can leave a comment on the post here and I'll get back to you. Thanks very much. Have a great day.